VOA News. I'm Christopher Cruz reporting. The deputy leader of the Islamic State group in Somalia has been killed in an airstrike. That word from a Somali regional minister speaking to VOA. He's the security minister of the Puntland region. He told VOA Somali that the airstrike that killed Abdihakim Mohamed Ibrahim took place Sunday between the villages of Hol Anod and Hiriro. He said the strike hit the vehicle and another passenger were traveling in. Sudan has its third leader in less than a week following the military's overthrow of the longtime President Omar al-Bashir. Reuters correspondent Lucy Fielder reports.
Yet another army commander promising victorious and jubilant protesters that there will be a civilian government to follow 3 decades of autocratic rule under Omar al-Bashir. Still, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan Abdulrahman says the transition could take up to 2 years. And the crowds on Khartoum's streets are impatient for change and an end to rule by men in fatigues. Al-Bashir was arrested on Thursday after 4 months of protests over rising food prices, high unemployment and growing repression.
The leader of the country's Transitional Military Council said Saturday he's committed to transferring power to a civilian government within 2 years. The lieutenant general ordered the release of all prisoners jailed under emergency laws ordered by the ousted president. The White House is denying that President Trump is inciting violence and Islamophobia for a tweet critical of Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and her seemingly dismissive comment about the September 11th attacks. He said Sarah Sanders, his spokeswoman, said certainly the president is wishing no ill will and certainly not violence towards anyone. This is VOA News. The next chapter in the extradition battle over WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange could involve competing claims from both the United States and Sweden, which may want him on charges of sexual misconduct. His lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, says she would only agree to the Swedish option because she says her client's rights would be compromised in the United States.
He's embarrassed the U.S. military-industrial complex. He's embarrassed the CIA. We've had the director of the CIA call him a hostile non-state intelligence agency and saying that he ought to be prosecuted. We want to take WikiLeaks down and he ought not benefit from First Amendment protections.
Dozens of members of the British Parliament have signed a letter urging the Home Secretary that if there are competing extradition requests, that he send Assange to Sweden. Assange was arrested on Thursday when police took him from Ecuador's embassy in London with the permission of Ecuador. The White House on Sunday, echoing President Trump, said sending undocumented migrants to sanctuary U.S. cities that have protected them from deportation remains a possibility, even though government agencies have said it would be impractical and there is no money allocated to it. AP correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
Although the idea of sending immigrants from the border to sanctuary cities is being considered, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says that's just one of the options being reviewed.
The ideal solution is real simple. It's for Congress, particularly Democrats in Congress, to sit down with the president, do their jobs.
But Democratic Congressman Benny Thompson, who chairs the Homeland Security Committee, says he's prepared to discuss border security with someone in a leadership position from the Department of Homeland Security.
We have 8 senior vacancies at the department, so we're kind of in a rudderless situation.
Both Sanders and Thompson spoke on ABC's This Week. Mike Hempen, Washington.
Tens of thousands of people gathered at St. Peter's Square at the Vatican as Pope Francis celebrated Palm Sunday Mass. Palm Sunday marks the start of the holiest and one of the busiest times on the Pope's calendar. On the day, the Church also celebrated the Day of the Youth. Correspondent Sabina Castelfranco reports for VOA from Rome.
Palm Sunday marks the day Jesus made his triumphant entry into Jerusalem.
Le acclamazioni dell'ingresso in Gerusalemme e l'umiliazione di Gesù.
Pope Francis began his homily by saying, joyful acclamations at Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem, followed by his humiliation, festive cries followed by brutal torture. This twofold mystery accompanies our entrance into Holy Week each year.
You can find more on these and other late-breaking and developing stories from around the world, around the clock, at voanews.com and on the VOA News mobile app. I'm Christopher Cruz, VOA News.